Betrayal. Lies. Secrets too dangerous to reveal. Some decisions are made out of fear, others out of desperation, but what happens when those choices collide with the harsh reality of love, trust, and the law? This is the story of Danielle Harper and Michael Simmons, a tale of passion turned to tragedy, of hidden truths with catastrophic consequences, and of a love story that became a national headline. What began as a picture-perfect romance ended in bloodshed, shattering lives and exposing the darkest corners of the human heart. Brace yourself, because this story doesn't just ask what happened. It demands to know why. And by the end, you may find yourself questioning how well you really know the people closest to you. On September 15, Danielle Harper, 29, and Michael Simmons, 31, celebrated their wedding. The couple, who met at the annual Tech Innovation Charity Gala in 2018, seemed to be a perfect match. Danielle, born in Portland, Oregon, had established herself as a principal dancer at one of the city's leading ballet companies. Meanwhile, Michael, a Stanford University graduate, worked as a senior software engineer at a prominent Silicon Valley technology firm. However, Danielle carried a secret. In 2017, during a troubled relationship with Eric Lawson, a 34-year-old real estate developer from Seattle, she had contracted HIV. The diagnosis was confirmed by a San Francisco Department of Public Health testing center. Medical records from a major San Francisco medical center documented that Danielle's infection was well controlled and asymptomatic. Dr. Maria Rodriguez, Danielle's infectious disease specialist, had strongly advised disclosure to any sexual partners. Despite this, Danielle, fearing the potential collapse of her relationship with Michael, chose to remain silent about her condition. Eric Lawson, who had relocated to San Francisco's Marina District in 2020, began harassing Danielle in the months leading up to her wedding. Between March and August, he sent her dozens of threatening messages, warning that Michael deserved to know the truth. In one of these messages, he wrote that Michael should be aware of what kind of person he was really marrying. On October 3, Eric escalated his threats by anonymously contacting Michael. The email, later recovered by investigators, revealed Danielle's secret and urged Michael to get tested for HIV. Initially dismissing the message as a cruel joke, Michael eventually decided to get tested at a local medical center. The results confirmed that he was HIV positive. Devastated, Michael began to suspect Danielle and confronted her about her past relationships and medical history. The confrontation between Danielle and Michael became increasingly tense. Security footage from their apartment building captured Michael returning home visibly distressed on the evening he received his diagnosis. Neighbors later reported hearing raised voices from the couple's apartment that night. During the argument, Michael presented Danielle with copies of the anonymous messages he had received and his medical test results. Danielle, overwhelmed and defensive, could not provide a clear explanation. Determined to uncover the truth, Michael began contacting individuals connected to Danielle's past, including Eric Lawson. During a phone conversation with Eric, Michael learned about Danielle's HIV diagnosis and the timeline of events. Eric also shared medical documents from their past relationship, further confirming that Danielle had known about her condition for years but had chosen not to disclose it. By late October, Michael sought legal counsel to explore his options. California law categorizes the knowing transmission of HIV as a criminal offense. Michael's attorney began building a case against Danielle, collecting medical records, text messages, and other evidence. Around the same time, their relationship deteriorated further. Security logs from their building showed that Michael frequently stayed at a nearby hotel, and neighbors reported multiple instances of heated arguments. The strain began to take a toll on Danielle. Friends described her as increasingly paranoid and anxious, fearing both legal consequences and public humiliation. Danielle sought psychiatric help and was prescribed anti-anxiety medication and sleeping aids. Her professional life also suffered, leading to her taking an indefinite leave of absence from the ballet company where she worked. Michael's legal team gathered substantial evidence, including proof that Danielle had deliberately omitted her HIV status from their premarital medical screenings. Mutual friends of the couple were forced to take sides, and the once celebrated union became a divisive topic among their social circle. By November, Danielle's fear and emotional distress were evident to those around her. Sarah Martinez, a close friend of the couple, testified that Danielle confided in her about the mounting pressure. According to Sarah, Danielle expressed regret but also deep fear about the consequences of her actions. She described significant changes in Danielle's behavior and appearance, reflecting the emotional toll the situation had taken on her. As the legal case against Danielle progressed, her story became a cautionary tale about trust, betrayal, and the consequences of deception. The tragic unraveling of their marriage highlighted the devastating impact that hidden truths can have on relationships, mental health, and the lives of everyone involved. Danielle Harper's silence, even after learning of Michael's infection, further escalated the situation. The turning point came in early December when Michael's attorney officially filed for divorce. The petition included provisions for criminal charges regarding the knowing transmission of HIV. Upon receiving the divorce papers, Danielle's mental state deteriorated rapidly. Security footage captured her having an emotional breakdown in the building's elevator, and her medication dosage was increased following an emergency consultation with her psychiatrist, Dr. Wilson. By mid-December, Michael had moved out of their shared apartment and into a temporary residence in Pacific Heights. However, the physical separation did little to ease tensions. Records show multiple heated exchanges between the couple, with late-night phone calls lasting for hours. The strain between them was palpable, creating an atmosphere of increasing volatility.
On the night of February 15, emergency services received a call from a resident of the luxury Nob Hill apartment building. The caller reported hearing violent shouting, glass breaking, and sounds of furniture being overturned. Building security footage from that evening showed Michael Simmons entering the building carrying a manila envelope, later identified as containing legal documents related to the divorce and criminal charges. When police and emergency medical services arrived, they found Michael dead in the living room. He was lying face down in a pool of blood, with 14 stab wounds concentrated in his upper back and neck. The murder weapon, a 9-inch German-made kitchen knife from the couple's wedding gift set, was found in Danielle Harper's possession in the master bathroom. The scene presented a picture of extreme violence. Blood spatter analysis indicated the attack began while Michael was seated on the living room couch. A half-empty wine glass and an open laptop on the coffee table suggested he had been engaged in routine activities when the assault started. Defensive wounds on Michael's hands and forearms showed he had attempted to protect himself. The medical examiner documented multiple deep lacerations on his palms and fingers, consistent with attempts to grab or deflect the knife. The depth and angle of the primary wounds indicated they were inflicted with significant force from behind, contradicting Danielle's claim of self-defense during a face-to-face confrontation. When police discovered Danielle, she was in the master bathroom with blood on her hands, arms, and clothing. She had sustained minor cuts to her hands, which were later classified by the medical examiner as typical self-inflicted wounds common during a violent knife attack. Danielle displayed no signs of defensive injuries that would have been expected in a legitimate case of self-defense. The living room showed signs of a struggle, with overturned furniture, a broken wine glass, and displaced items. However, investigators noted that some aspects of the scene appeared staged. Certain items were broken but had been carefully placed, rather than scattered chaotically as one might expect in a genuine fight. A search of the apartment uncovered further evidence of premeditation. In the kitchen trash, investigators found a receipt from a local store showing the purchase of cleaning supplies and rubber gloves earlier that afternoon. Security footage confirmed Danielle making these purchases. This evidence, combined with inconsistencies in her statement, raised significant doubts about her self-defense claim. The manila envelope Michael had brought contained updated divorce proceedings and a notice of intent to pursue criminal charges for the non-disclosure of HIV. These documents were found scattered on the floor, several pages marked with bloody fingerprints. This discovery provided investigators with a clear potential motive for premeditated murder rather than an act of self-defense. Danielle Harper was taken into custody later that evening. During questioning, she maintained her claim of self-defense but was unable to explain key evidence. such as the purchase of cleaning supplies and the nature of Michael's injuries. Notably, investigators described Danielle's demeanor as unusually calm for someone who had just experienced a traumatic confrontation. Over the next 24 hours, crime scene investigators collected over 200 pieces of evidence from the apartment. This included DNA samples, blood spatter evidence, the murder weapon, cleaning supplies, and electronic devices. Surveillance footage showed Michael entering the building calmly, with no signs of aggressive behavior. The medical examiner's final report ruled Michael's death a homicide, detailing that the fatal wound severed his carotid artery, leading to rapid blood loss. The remaining wounds indicated a continued attack even after Michael was incapacitated, suggesting an emotional rather than defensive motivation. Further investigation revealed a complex web of deception spanning several months. Digital forensic experts recovered hundreds of deleted messages exchanged between Danielle and Eric Lawson. The messages painted a picture of escalating threats and psychological pressure. In one message, Eric warned Danielle that Michael's diagnosis was just the beginning, vowing to expose her secrets. Danielle's responses reflected increasing desperation, including one message where she stated she would do anything to prevent further revelations. Financial investigators uncovered additional motives. 2 weeks before Michael's HIV diagnosis, Danielle had taken out a $2.5 million life insurance policy on him. The policy application contained falsified medical information, omitting any mention of his HIV status. Investigators also discovered that Danielle had begun liquidating assets, selling $175,000 worth of securities in the months leading up to the murder. The investigation revealed a chilling pattern of deception, manipulation, and ultimately, violence. The evidence painted a damning picture of premeditation, suggesting Danielle had carefully planned her actions to protect herself from financial ruin and public exposure. The tragedy of Michael Simmons' murder underscored the devastating consequences of betrayal, fear, and unchecked desperation. Danielle Harper had also transferred a significant amount of funds to an offshore account. Additionally, she had applied for passports from 2 different countries using her pre-transition identity documents, suggesting potential plans to flee. Eric Lawson's involvement became a focal point of the investigation when detectives recovered a series of voicemails he had left on Michael's phone. In one of these messages, Eric warned Michael about unspecified dangerous behavior from Danielle and urged him to take legal precautions. Although Eric was in Seattle on business during the murder, his constant communication with both parties had contributed to the volatile situation. Gregory Martinez, a building employee, provided crucial testimony about Danielle's activities on the day of the murder. He reported observing her leaving the building, appearing agitated, and returning shortly after carrying shopping bags. Security footage corroborated this timeline and also captured Danielle making multiple trips to the building's garbage chute prior to Michael's arrival. A search warrant executed on Danielle's medical records revealed that she had significantly increased her psychiatric medication dosage in the weeks leading up to the murder. Notes from her final session with Dr. Thomas Wilson indicated that Danielle had expressed feelings of being trapped and displayed signs of paranoid thinking. Michael's legal documents uncovered during the investigation revealed that he had been building a strong criminal case against Danielle. His attorney had gathered evidence of multiple instances where Danielle deliberately concealed her HIV status, not only from Michael but from previous partners as well. 2 other individuals who had relationships with Danielle were identified as having subsequently tested positive for HIV. Cell phone records showed Danielle had made several calls to a burner phone on the day of the murder, while the recipient of these calls was never identified. The timing and pattern suggested she had been coordinating with someone. Additionally, Danielle had conducted several internet searches leading up to the murder, including queries about knife wounds, cleaning blood stains, and countries without extradition treaties with the United States. These searches, combined with her financial activities and passport applications, strongly pointed to premeditation. Forensic analysis of the couple's apartment revealed further incriminating evidence. Danielle had downloaded and deleted documents related to self-defense claims and justifiable homicide cases, with activity spanning several weeks before the murder. Blood spatter analysis indicated that Michael was seated when the attack began, with no signs of initial struggle or defensive posturing, contradicting Danielle's claim of self-defense. The knife used in the attack showed blood patterns consistent with repeated stabbing motions rather than chaotic defensive actions. Medical examiner Dr. Patricia Wright determined that 11 of the 14 stab wounds were inflicted from behind, with the fatal wound severing Michael's carotid artery. The angle and depth of the wound suggested calculated intent and significant force, indicating either anatomical knowledge or extraordinary precision. Eric Lawson provided investigators with a large collection of emails and text messages exchanged with Danielle in the months leading up to the murder. These messages revealed her increasing desperation, including one in which Danielle described feeling cornered like an animal and that she would do whatever it takes to protect herself. Surveillance footage showed Danielle making multiple trips to dispose of items in the building's garbage chute prior to the murder, further contradicting her claim that the incident was spontaneous. Financial investigators uncovered a complex web of money transfers in the months leading up to the murder. Danielle had systematically liquidated approximately $300,000 in assets, converting much of it to cash and cryptocurrency. These transactions strongly suggested preparation for potential flight from justice. Danielle's psychiatrist, Dr. Wilson, testified that she exhibited increasing paranoia but maintained logical thinking and did not show signs of psychosis that might impair her judgment. The evidence painted a picture of a woman meticulously planning her actions while struggling with the psychological toll of her situation. The trial of Danielle Harper began at the San Francisco Superior Court and lasted 6 weeks, drawing national attention. The prosecution's case focused on forensic evidence, financial transactions, and testimony from Michael's family and friends. Dr. Wright's detailed presentation of the wounds, combined with blood spatter analysis, undermined Danielle's self-defense claims. Financial evidence demonstrated clear premeditation, while Michael's journals and the voicemails he left his family painted a picture of a man devastated by betrayal but seeking justice, not revenge. The defense centered its case on Danielle's mental health struggles and the unique pressures she faced as a transgender woman dealing with HIV stigma. Experts testified about the discrimination and emotional strain Danielle experienced. However, attempts to portray Michael as emotionally abusive fell apart when prosecutors presented his journals, which revealed his genuine efforts to process the betrayal rather than any abusive tendencies. Eric Lawson's testimony was pivotal, exposing both Danielle's history of deception and his own role in escalating the situation. While he expressed remorse for his harassment, his communications with Danielle highlighted her growing desperation and fear of exposure. The jury deliberated for 4 days before delivering a verdict. Danielle Harper was found guilty of second-degree murder and sentenced to 25 years to life, with the possibility of parole after 20 years. During sentencing, Judge David Martinez acknowledged the complexities of the case, including the social and personal factors at play, but emphasized that they did not justify premeditated murder. Danielle was transferred to the California Institution for Women, and her appeals process began immediately. Legal experts noted that the substantial evidence against her made the likelihood of a successful appeal slim. The case sparked widespread debate about HIV disclosure laws, gender identity, and mental health in the criminal justice system. Victims' rights advocates emphasized the importance of enforcing medical disclosure laws, while others argued for reforms to address the unique challenges faced by marginalized groups. The trial concluded a tragic story of secrets, lies, and the devastating consequences of betrayal. As one juror commented, the case demonstrated how a series of deceptions, each seemingly justified in the moment, could spiral into unthinkable violence.